Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a great one lined up for you today. We're talking about not just crypto and when moon, but we're talking about moving into a new era of global finance. And we're about to see some progress and growing pains. And some of these growing pains are going to have to be dealt with. Let's roll that beautiful intro and find out.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove, and everything that we're talking about here today. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Facebook. It is Digital Perspectives News on Facebook. No spaces. Give us a follow there and on Twitter. Now, looking at this, we see 1.4 trillion plus for the cryptocurrency market cap collectively. This has been a nice metric to look at for us because it was 1.3 yesterday. We've seen some money return back into the space, and we see a little more green showing back up here on the page, which is nice for a change, right? Okay, so here we go right here. We're looking at XRP at the number 7 spot, courtesy of the dereliction of duty by the SEC plus intimidation tactics. 66 cents is where we're sitting. We're up 4.24% on a 24-hour, 11.71 on the 7-day. I think that's worth noting here. And look, here's the other thing. We're going into a long weekend here in the U.S., and obviously, happy 4th to anybody here. Hope you have a happy and safe 4th. And I would say that normally we go into a weekend, you usually see the price just kind of either consolidate or even roll over a little bit. But who knows? What I do know is that 66 cents has been a crucial price point and a place of resistance for XRP. It rolled back from that yesterday, and now it's back up there testing it again is what it looks like to me. Now, I'm not a technical expert, and none of this is financial advice that we're talking about, but just my perspective of watching some of what I consider these technical experts, it seems that XRP is testing this spot again. And if we can get up above it, because the low range on XRP right now is 63.74, the upper range 68.07, I'd like to be able to see us get above that 66 mark on the low range, and then I think we're talking about really going somewhere. But we're going to look at some information that we're going somewhere right now, and you're going to see some of the growing pains of where we're going, and you're going to see some of the huge progress that is really being made here. All right, so this right here is U.S. Fed Vice Chairman, ? The need to issue a central bank digital currency. Where's this guy been at? They're already doing it. Where's he been at? Don't they have meetings there, like collectively, where everybody like levels up? Let's true up so everybody's on the same page here. We understand where we're going. What the heck? Anyway, CoinDesk says here, U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell was scheduled to meet with Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong on May 11th. We covered this back on May 11th, and they did. And matter of fact, Brian Armstrong told us he went to D.C. and Capitol Hill to meet with legislators and federal agencies, and for which the Fed was, the Fed was one of them. And in that talk, there was a lot of talk about regulation, how to regulate, what CBDCs, the threat, the pros and cons, and all these things, and the threats and pros and cons of crypto. And you have to know that the exchanges are where the regulation is going to touch first. We've even heard Gary Gensler say that he believes you got to get in there with the exchanges because this is where the retail investors getting it. And if you're going to put in place some kind of regulation or framework that has, investor protection in it, like the SEC was supposed to do. Oh, goodness. But nevertheless, if you're going to have consumer protection, investor protection, and things like that, you're going to have to start with the exchanges because this is where we all get the stuff from. We're about to look at some news in a second that I believe peels back that conversation to a much deeper level. This is a video here by Jamie Nix, and shout out to Jamie here. And this really says, this is the former governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney, who has been very, very vocal about where not only he believes England is going, but where the ultimate international global movement is going to be net zero emissions, meaning cashless at some point. Listen to this video.
Virtually all of their business is in countries that are committed to net zero. They should be committed to net zero, and they should be part of the gold standard.
If they haven't signed up by Glasgow, what does that tell us about those banks?
Well, they're not fully committed to where their countries are committed. That's what it tells us.
None of the banks were available for comment. None of the big Canadian banks have signed up. Goldman Sachs, your former employer, hasn't joined the Net Zero Banking Alliance. Yeah. All of these banks.
By the way, really quickly, we know the Royal Bank of Canada years ago, and I mean years ago, was testing XRP in cross-border transactions. That's not even a guess. And I love how I believe Jamie put this video together showing all this information that we've all looked at over time, superimposed over top of this conversation. Let's keep listening.
So let me flip to the other side. HSBC, Barclays, RBS, Santander.
You're a glass half full man.
And Bank of America,
reality check. There's a lot of work to done. There are big names that haven't committed here.
Absolutely, Joel, absolutely. And the question is for those institutions is to get themselves in a position so they can make these commitments. And to be clear, these commitments are serious commitments. You're committing to net zero. You're committing to a 5-year decarbonization plan. You're committing to how you're going to get there. You're committing to annual disclosure. Now, these are all sensible things. This is what people want to see. It's what's necessary in order to move forward.
What's your message to the boards and the senior management of these companies, to JP Morgan, to Wells Fargo, to Goldman Sachs?
For which this gentleman doesn't realize he just named all these investment banks that are already in this movement.
What's your message?
Well, it's very clear. There is a gold standard for net zero commitments.
It's interesting. I have some friends of mine that are kind of really involved in crypto. I think like the Bitcoin structure was quite brilliant. Yeah, it seems like there's some merit to Ethereum as well, and maybe some of the others. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it would be a good use of Tesla resources to get involved in crypto. We're really just trying to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy. And I think actually one of the downsides of crypto is that computationally it's like quite energy intensive. So there had to be some kind of constraint on the creation of crypto. So, but it's very energy intensive to create like the incremental Bitcoin at this point.
And that's as far as Bitcoin goes. But the reality is, if you look here at the numbers, XRP obviously has a very, very low energy consumption rate. And we're going to get into the benefit of that in just a second in a very specific area of industry in crypto. Looking right here, Ripple puts out the reminder, we are moving into a new era in global finance and looking for people to help us drive real change. Ready to join the team? Click here and explore their open roles. And the reality here for me is, it's like, how about Ripple continuing to march forward knowing they have a job to do, regardless of the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission and this really horrible lawsuit that obviously I understand we need some legal precedent for new technology, so I'm not oblivious to that fact. But what I can tell you is this case is a mess. And it's 7 years late and a mess. It's an official dumpster fire. So we'll watch this. It does look like, from some of the analysts that have been watching this, Attorney Jeremy Hogan and others, they are seeing the potential of this case to go into early 22 now. So we could obviously settle any day. Don't take that off the table. But that is what we're looking at as far as the timeline so far, if we don't get a settlement prior to. So I love that Ripple's still carrying the narrative. We're moving to a new era of finance, and it is true. And this article is pretty interesting because they use some interesting metrics to look at here, which are quite promising when it comes to the U.S., because I believe these are the things that will get legislators moving to where they need to be to give us the framework to be able to continue growing this entire digital asset market. It says, despite not having a clear regulatory framework on cryptocurrencies, the United States has positioned itself as the most crypto-ready nation in the world based on several key metrics. Let's take a look at it because it actually it's pretty interesting here. it does show that there is a steam building, right? There is a real movement taking place, and they're talking about crypto ready, right? So looking at this, it says here the 2021 Crypto Ready Index, courtesy of research firm Crypto Head, gave the United States a top score of 7.13 out of 10. Tells me people are laying the groundwork. You don't believe me? Listen to this. In terms of crypto ATM machines, the USA is leading the way with over 17,000, which is by far the most in the world. As the next closest country, has around 16,000 less. How about that one? The results, which were released on Thursday, showed U.S. law allows for ownership of crypto and its use in banks, and there has been a 140% increase in searches for cryptocurrency in the past year. Now, Cyprus was named as the second most crypto-ready jurisdiction in the world, mainly for the sharp increase in Google searches over the past year. Rounding out the top 5 are Singapore, Hong Kong, and the UK. What I say here in this particular instance is don't forget with the 17,000 ATM machines that are crypto-friendly here, right, already in place, that's market infrastructure, baby, right? That's distribution framework in place. That's important. And knowing that we have the issuances from Brian Brooks in his time at the OCC for federally chartered banks to be able to custody crypto, hello, that is a connection to a major pipeline for liquidity and for people to have access to this entire digital asset class. I don't think it could really be overstated, to be perfectly honest with you. What it tells me is somebody's been laying a lot of groundwork to make sure that there's an actual system. Imagine cars being built and there's only 1,000 gas stations across the country that you could use. Imagine cars being built and then there's 17,000 gas stations, right? Well, we know there's maybe more than that now. I'm sure of that. But the point is that I think you get the salient point here, right? Is that the point is that if you're going to have digital assets, you need a place to exchange them to get them either in the bank or out to cash. That's where we're going. And then that brings on the conversation of CBDCs at some point as well. Let's take a look at this, because this touches on something here when it comes to CBDCs and private stablecoins. Breaking news from Gold Telegraph. We covered this the other day, but I want to cover it again to remind you I don't think this is a small issue. Bridge Mutual intends to provide discretionary coverage for investors against the possibility of a major depegging. Tether itself is backing the play. Gold Telegraph says I'm taking the rest of the week off. When I look at this, basically what they're trying to do is set up insurance firm Bridge Mutual to protect against a possible Tether depegging. And that means if it doesn't hold to the dollar, then you would obviously be covered by Bridge Mutual to cover whatever that spread difference is. What's interesting here is that, you could look at this really in a positive way, like, oh, so USD Tether's looking to shore up any risk, right, to the holder of Tether. And then the other side of this is that, does Tether know something we don't? They planning on some kind of serious shock event happening to Tether? I mean, they are running around here with a private digital dollar, and it's been questioned for many, many years whether they are properly backed one-to-one. You think about these things. See, the exchanges is where this is going to get felt. If you don't believe me, look at the SEC case and the delisting and trading halt of XRP itself because of that case. Gary Gensler's been vocal about the idea of what? Gary Gensler's been vocal about the idea of starting with the exchanges and making sure that investor protection is there. Cayman Islands Monetary Authority, CIMA, has said that despite media reports of Binance, not Binance US, but Binance being incorporated in the territory, it is not licensed by the regulator to operate a crypto exchange business from or within the islands. Uh-oh. That's not good. Your fanny's hanging out up here, right? That's what's going on there. Binance not authorized by SEMA to operate cryptocurrency exchange. Gary Gensler has been very vocal about the idea that it starts with exchanges. The SEC versus Ripple case has us restricted and handicapped from being able to get XRP to the degree that we're able to prior to the lawsuit. I understand that this is talking about Malta. I understand this is talking about, the Cayman Islands, I get all of this, and that's a different area, different authority, but I see a narrative here. They're starting to clamp down on the exchanges, and it looks like to me SEMA is making it known that we never issued them the authority to work out of the Cayman Islands. What does this mean for you as a holder on this exchange? I want to be somewhere that I know that they're licensed, they're regulated, all of it, right? Just word to the wise, word to the wise. Ripple invested Mark Cuban backed in Mintable NFT platform. Now, I think this is huge. We even talked about this when NFTs first exploded on the scene, that the gas fees on the ETH network were absolutely crushing the idea of what NFTs can do for the art world and the intellectual property world. And now we see a bit of relief. Not only is Mark Cuban getting into this whole Mintable game NFT world, but Ripple invests in it as well because they're going to make it more affordable with more opportunity to build on a network with less fees, and it's faster settlement. Look, it's pretty simple where this is going. And I think, honestly, it's going to really revive the whole idea of NFTs all over again. Looking right here, shout out to DJ Peter Vass, who's a Hall of Famer, and shout out to my friend Miss Pat. She gave me this article, and then I saw it again from DJ Peter Vass, so shout out to both of them. So many people send great information, and I'm grateful for all of it, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you. Looking here, XRP price might rally 25% as Ripple X partners with Mintable. Again, none of this is financial advice from me or anyone else on the channel, but I will say, it is hugely promising to me knowing how big the NFT world already is and how much bigger it is going to get. And knowing that XRP Ledger is now allowing that to be a function and something that can take place on the ledger, I think this is going to skyrocket bigger than it even did a couple months ago. All right, so looking right here, I do know inside this article, it did go a little further to talk about XRP price. And it says here, if things go on to the upside, we could see upward into the 70 plus cent range. And if we go downward, I think we all know what could happen there because we've been watching it happen for the last couple weeks. You could see it roll over to the 55, 45 lines. And if it goes beyond that, we may be back in 30, 28 cent territory. But let's hope we don't see that. But nevertheless, things are moving forward. Russia announces digital ruble. Is it on Ethereum or Ripple? Who knows? But I'll tell you one thing. The world is not stopping in getting their digital dollar for their central bank and their government money together. And I think that's an important thing to note. And by the way, the Fed and the BIS just announced the office, I believe it was, for the BIS here in New York, with the New York Fed. And we know that that has been a huge part of the BIS Innovation Hub. Forgive me, I accidentally, and shout out to Big Skinny for that piece of information, and I'll throw it up in another video. But I accidentally deleted it by accident, and I didn't have time to pull it back up. But nevertheless, the world is moving towards this digital dollar. And I believe that's why the market is pretty much stalled here. Because if the rest of the world doesn't need the SEC's approval, why hasn't the market taken off? What is the rest of the world waiting for? Everyone keeps telling me, oh, we got the clarity we need other places. Well, then what are they waiting for? That's the biggest sign that tells me, because the market hasn't just jumped off in one country and said, forget the rest of them. You know what I mean? We're going to get the first mover advantage, right? But we don't see that. And the reason we don't see that, I believe, which is my speculation, and by the way, if any of you are hearing this, whether you like to admit it or not, you are a speculator. That's why you're here, right? No one else is hearing this because most other people don't even know what crypto is. You're talking about the Bitcoin, right? So if you're hearing this, you in fact are a speculator. And always remember, it's okay to think whatever you want. You don't need anybody's permission, that's for sure. And this has been an interesting time that we're moving into. We see Ripple ODL registered in the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, to provide payments and other electronic financial services. Now that is hugely promising right there. We know that Ripple has had huge relationships with the UAE and major banks in that region. And this to me is very, very promising. And I think at some point we phase in to the next phase, which is not just a software usage, right? We're going to move to a point where they end up using XRP for settlement. That's my thought on it. So here we go. Here are 5 cryptocurrencies to look out in July. Now, I wanted to show you this real quick before we get out of here. It shows here it's Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, and Polygon and Solana. And I just wanted to use it because it made me think, I haven't talked about what I've been into lately. And I usually do it in a newsletter and I haven't had time to send one out. So, but if you want to get on a newsletter, I do put exclusive content in that newsletter. It is in the description and comment box with the rest of the links of products and services that I use each and every day. But if I wanted to bring up what I'm actually looking at right now. And again, none of this is financial advice, just sharing with you full disclosure what's in my portfolio that I'm focused on right now. And let's see, it's XRP, obviously, right? XLM, it's XDC, and it's Algorand. And then you guys know I love Casino Coin for a long time now. I had to do the changeover, and now Casino Coin's launched on the ledger. I'm very excited about that. By the way, I think we should all politely ask and tag Uphold as much as we can to ask them to list Casino Coin, because I think it's a great project. But that's just me. If you don't, but I think it is. And let's see, and there's a couple others too. Oh, how could I forget Cardano? Shout out to Charles Hoskinson. I'm very much into Cardano. And there may be a couple others, but that's the ones I can think of off the top of my head for right now. So, Vetcoin. Yeah, Vet, and I love VeChain. There it is. All right, that's all mine. Now let's take a look at this because I just love this from Credible Bull Crypto. So he says, I can't wait for the 5th and final leg of this bull run to start. It's going to be legendary. Well, I tell you what, I can't wait either, Credible Bull Crypto. And Credible Bull Crypto's got almost 250,000 people following what he's doing. So this guy knows a little bit about what he's seeing, and I can't see it on the horizon because I'm not the technical analyst, but he does, and he's very bullish on it. And you know what? I'm here until I get the returns I'm looking for anyway. These are all companies I've done a lot of looking into, a lot of research on, and I happen to believe in them. Remember, everybody's got to make their own decision. Do your own research, vet me, vet everything I say and everybody else you hear, and come to your own conclusion. But I will say, regardless of what things feel like today with pricing, who knows? Let's see what's happening here. We may actually we're at 67 cents. So, we get up above that range. Who knows where we end up going? But I will say this, I'm excited about the market too. And that's what I wanted to share with everybody on this U.S. holiday. And I hope everybody has a great, happy, and safe weekend, regardless of where you are. And I'll catch all of you on the next one.